Fletcher. Now sit back and prepare to be entertained.
Welcome to the Dripping Bucket Podcast. We are back. We being we, and him being him, our guest. Super smooth. Rob J. Hayes
I'm
is
Michael R
joining us
Fletcher.
again.
I'm the host of the Dripping Bucket Podcast, and today I'm joined by my co-host Krystle Matar and my special guest star Rob J. Hayes. Hi, Rob. How's it going?
I'm not bad. It's good. I just ran a Kickstarter that took off, went really well. I have 47,000 books published, and I'm releasing 18 more in the next 10 minutes.
We've lost Krystle. She's dying.
I don't think anybody's ever broken me that bad on this show yet. So congrats.
So I've got plenty of experience from the old WWW days.
Yeah. I need you around more often to keep this punk in line.
You can't keep Fletcher in line. This is what we learned. You can't be kept in line. You just have to sort of like funnel the madness into a sort of productive direction.
The number of every week Jed would send messages about the topics he wanted to discuss, and I'd be like, "No, Jed, I'm not going to read this." Like I don't. No. And every week the podcast would start, and I'd be like, "Who's our guest? What are we talking about?" And Jed's like, "Oh, you fucker." Or except in Australian.
It's true.
Fuck my answer to you when I agreed to do this. If I had known that extra copy.
Like, none of us ever read the shit that he sent us for WWW. We had Joe Abercrombie on the bloody thing, and we were like, who are you?
Bo Jabbercrombie, what?
Never heard of him. Although he did threaten to smite me, and then there was thunder outside. I do fear for my life still.
Yeah, I'm still trying to convince him to do a clothing chain with me.
Abercrombie and Fletcher.
Abercrombie and Fletch, yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
But all right. So last week we talked about
so it's not Dyrk's
Rob's
pants, it's Abercrombie's
history
pants
a little bit. And what are you working on now, Rob? What's the future got for you? What do you got coming out?
I'm working on everything. No. Apart from the Gotti to Saga books.
Apart from the 5 books this year.
Yeah, I'm still publishing my Titan Hoppers books, which are my progression science fantasy thing. I've just finished editing one, literally before I came on here. I finished editing it. It's done. It's dusted. I can kick it to the door and never think of it again until book 4, and then I need to remember what I actually wrote in book 3.
Isn't that the worst? Do you hate having to reread your own books?
I don't reread them. I just kind of try desperately to remember what happened and hope that I don't fail. And then occasionally I'll be like, oh, shit, what colour eyes will that person have? And then I'll have to go searching because I don't want to read it. So I'll just be like, maybe they have blue. Search for every instance of blue to see. Did I say they have blue eyes at any point? You'd think I'd keep notes. You'd think.
No. No. Yeah, my favorite is I find someone who's read the books and then send them questions about my books.
That's really smart. I should try that.
That's really smart.
Yeah, it actually works pretty good. You get someone with a good memory. I'll be like, how did the end of Beyond Redemption, how did that end and who was dead?
How did that end? I mean, to be fair, I've read the Beyond Redemption Manifest book, the Losers books. It doesn't matter who dies. You just bring them back anyway.
Just totally cheating.
Anyway, so that's what I'm working on. What are you working on, Fletcher?
No, I don't think we actually got to what you're working on.
Right now,
you finished editing. What's your?
Oh,
you're going to start something new, right? New.
No, well, I'll be starting the phase 2 of the God Eater saga, so all 3 book 2s written at the same time.
You're not starting anything new.
No.
You're not going to write anything new for the next 2 or 3 years.
No. Yeah. Apart from short stories and novellas.
Oh, and the odd book that you write to avoid writing those books.
Yeah, there's that.
Because you're going to write another book in there. Yeah.
I'm desperately trying not to, because I already have way too many things on the go. I keep getting like people messaging me saying like, "Hey, are there going to be any more First Earth books?" And I'm like, "Yeah, one day, maybe, maybe." Don't ask me that.
So what we're hearing is these are all of the projects that you're writing to avoid writing more First Earth books.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it started. I was like, okay, I should start something else. So I'll write The War Eternal, and then that turned into a 5-book series. And then I started the Mortal Techniques books, and those are just ongoing. And then I I should really stop starting new projects.
Writers will do literally anything to avoid the project that they hate the most, including writing entire new series.
Yeah. Funnily enough, the my First Earth saga, they came about because I was avoiding writing a synopsis for the first book that I wrote in that world.
Nothing else.
Hated trying to write that synopsis, so I just came up with another story instead.
Yeah, synopsis is the worst.
Yeah, synopsises are genuinely the worst part of this job.
I do hate them.
Let's talk about synopsis, because I mean we planned all of this. What's your approach, Rob? How do you approach writing a synopsis?
Let's
like that you're going to send to a.
Are we talking about the back matter for the back of the book,
like
or are we talking about
copy.
like? Okay, because those
actually,
like, those
you're
different.
right. Let's talk about back of book copy first, then let's talk about synopsis.
That's the one that I hate.
What do you mean by back of book copy?
Do you
mean like
the
same sort of thing?
Amazon description page thing.
No.
All right.
So,
do you mean synopsis is in the sort of thing that you'd submit to an agent?
Happens. Yeah, not that. So first is like, and nobody can see anything. But like the back of the book, something.
I tend to call those blurbs, but then I say blurbs, and other people are like, "Oh, like an author blurb," and I'm like, "No, like the blurb." Oh God, what are we talking about?
It's wild how we can't even agree on like industry terms. we are people.
I'll tell you what, if you don't agree on something, define Grimdark.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but back of the book, back copy.
Yeah.
We're doing that. We're going to argue about that instead of Grimdark.
How I tend to go about that is I look at recent books that are in the same sort of genre that are selling well. So the first thing I do is I go and find a bunch of books that are in the same sort of genre, be it like dark fantasy or, I don't know, Dragon Rider, or, hey, what's popular at the moment? Romantasy. Fuck that shit. And then I find the sort of like the really sort of like popular books that are selling well at the time, and I read a bunch of those to try and figure out the sort of the general way that the synopsis are being written that actually sell books at the moment.
In that,
so that's the main thing. You can come up with a synopsis that can be like, I think this is amazing, but if it's not what's selling at the moment, then chances are people are just going to be turned off by it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be following somewhat the market trends. And then I have a go at writing one in the similar sort of vein. And I try to be like, you've got to try and make it exciting with a few terms, but not too many terms, because you don't want to overload, and you also need to make it, there's power words that they're called. So things like vengeance is like a power word that tends to draw people in. There's a few books you can find on power words for different genres, so you want to try and like fit a couple of those in there. And then I throw it at a few other authors and say, what do you think?
I find, having done this, people who actually read the book are the least helpful at figuring these things out. Because it's like they know too much a little bit, and they're like trying to get you to include more information, because they're they're very, very generously going like, oh well, this aspect of the book I really enjoyed it, so it should be on the back of the blurb, and then you end up with like
14
specific
paragraphs.
Yeah. But if you throw that sucker at people who don't even know you, like if you're in a really big Discord group and some folks are like, oh, this line is really interesting, it's making me want to buy the book, those are the people that you talk to about back of the book.
So when I was writing the the first book in the God Eater saga blurb, synopsis, Herald, a lot of people like, I looked at obviously different versions, and a lot of people like, right, what you want to do is you want to focus on a single character, because at the moment that's what books in sort of like epic fantasy do. It's like, yeah, you can sit there and go, this character's doing this character's doing this and that, blah. But they're actually focusing, like the sort of like the successful ones are focusing on one character at the moment, usually the main character, obviously. And then so I sort of like I wrote this blurb focusing around one character, and then I sent it to a few other people, and Mahir, who I absolutely love. He's a quality guy, Mahir, but he was just like, yeah, but I think you should put something about the villain of the piece in there, because he's really prominent in the story. And I was like, yeah, but no, it doesn't work. That's not what's selling at the moment. I want them to say, no, we definitely need something about, no, please no. But yeah, again, it's because he's read the book. So, he knows what's in the book. He's like, and the other thing is, if somebody's read the book, they're more likely to be completely truthful about the synopsis. And what I mean by that is, you'll write something, and it may not be exactly true, but you've worded it in a way that is compelling and is close enough to the truth. But then they might be like, but that's not exactly how things go down. And you're like, it doesn't matter. Does it make people want to read the book? Yeah, you have to be truthful enough that people don't feel like they've been robbed. That
they're into the wrong
they've been
genre.
lied to.
Yeah,
but at the same time, you want it to be compelling enough that in a single sentence you can make somebody read the book, and it may not be 100% truthful to do that. So yeah, synopsis writing. Fuck that shit. I hate it.
Yeah, you will write entire series to get away from it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've embraced the lying, like close-ish of the book.
Yeah,
but really
be
just
close enough.
Yeah,
if you
no,
get
it's
too
like
far away, you
if
end
someone
up with
reads the book and then goes back and reads the back, they might be like, "What the fuck? Who does that?"
Yeah, if you're exactly going to read the book and go, "I love this book, but dear God, this back lied to me." That's it. 1 star. I'm out.
You actually get that though. Like if you, I think the point that you made about staying within the genre of the book is really important, because there are certain beats that lead people to believe they're going to expect a certain type of genre or a certain like formula of tropes or any of those things. And if you lie too much and get them off expecting like the opposite genre of what you've got, like if you're Rob Hayes and you've accidentally pitched people a cozy fantasy, they are gonna come for you. But
I'll have you know, I wrote a humorous steampunk fantasy, which is quite cozy. It was the second series I ever wrote, and it sold like shit. And most of the reviews were, "What the hell is this? I wanted more Grimdark."
You should repackage that sucker and get it out on the market now that cozy is like the thing, and make it look like you you set the trend.
Make it look like it's you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Done with that. Besides, steampunk is a terrible genre that never sells.
Are you sure? I don't know if that's true.
It's fine. You write Gaslamp.
Yeah, totally different.
Gas, that's true. And we can argue about that one next as well. What exactly is Gaslamp? Nobody knows.
I don't know what Gaslamp is.
It's a word that I learned after I published my book, if I'm totally honest. And I'm kind of disturbed generally as a community how little we agree on like the basic word usage within this industry. It makes our job of finding the right readers so hard.
Yeah, it's not gas lamp. It's not gas fueling the lighting. It's little children.
Gas lamp, but make it magic slavery.
To be honest, you get all sorts of weird like punk styles, like because obviously you get like steampunk, clock punk, aether punk,
matter punk.
The weirdest one I ever saw was fetus punk. Yeah, it was bizarre. It was like, okay, your magic is literally powered by fetuses in a jar. Cool.
All right.
Points for unique ideas.
Yeah. It's the best thing about indie fantasy.
yeah.
You'll get all sorts. It's the variety.
Big fetuses, little fetuses. Oh god, this guy.
I love the fact that I managed to derail this again in like a single sentence. One day I will be on a podcast and I will manage to keep everybody on topic, but it is not today.
Not with Fletcher, and also not with me. Like I throw him a lot of shade, but let's be honest, I know who I am. I'm a pile of chaos too.
I know, but it's very easy to blame Fletcher.
But I'm not. It is. He's very blamable, and he doesn't like resist very much. Like, not only is it easy to blame him in that other people will believe me, but also, as he's currently demonstrating, he rarely complains at all.
He just accepts it.
Yeah,
he's a welcoming punching
I'm
bag.
saving it for later. My next podcast.
After you've sucked all the life out of me.
Tell them the fuck those guys podcast. Do this on my own.
On your own.
Guests.
How?
That's it.
I don't know what I'll talk
Fletcher,
about.
24/7 staring at you.
It's like, is that a no? He blinked. It's not a cardboard cutout.
He's slowly tipping to the left. He must be.
Oh, he's drunk.
Yeah.
This is what happens when there's no topics.
Yes.
Yeah, Fletcher.
Brilliance. Genius. So let's back to that. Let's actually talk about actual synopsises. Synopses.
Synopses.
Now,
yeah, synopsis.
Synopsisizing.
Yeah. So the talk, I mean, maybe one person watches this podcast and is like, is this a writing advice podcast? Like the Wizards, Warriors,
That
and
poor
Words?
soul.
And yes, it is. Just for the next minute or so.
Okay.
That
maybe.
poor lost child.
So, how do you handle like a synopsis you'd write for an agent?
Those are easier.
That's been like
Really?
4 years since I
Yeah.
wrote a synopsis for an agent.
Yeah.
They're weird, actually. So, because you it's a lot longer. You need to actually describe what's happening in the book. You need to like include
Yeah.
all of the major characters. You need to describe what's happening. And I kind of feel like they're more, sort of like a brief description of the major beats of your book. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you make your character and their major arc. I think that's the way I handled it back when I was submitting to agents. I'd sort of like, I'd write a sort of like, hey, here's an introduction to the world. Here's a character. This is what their major arc is going to be. Here's another character. This is what their major arc is going to be. And then once I've gone through all of the sort of like the major characters, then I'd have here's the major like story arc for the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually, I'd manage to try and get that into 2 pages. I do remember that there were certain times when I was writing synopsises for like further books in the series, and I'd literally get to the point where I'm like, look, I can't explain this in 2 pages worth, so I'm just going to be like, this happens and this happens, trust me, it'll work out.
I found because I did it. It's been a long time since I've done synopsises for agents, but I did it for Brightwash upon the release of Brick and Bone, just because it was 2 years between, and it's a big book, and I'm just going to assume that nobody remembers anything that I wrote, just like I don't remember. So really, I just went through chapter by chapter and tried to distill each chapter into a couple of lines of the most important thing that happened. And let me tell you, doing that while I was revising the second book very much helped me have an eye on the second book and where I still had chapters that were totally and completely unnecessary to the story. Because if I couldn't revise or like distill what happened in that chapter to a line that was important enough to add to the synopsis, the chapter was deleted. Like, that was it. I was done trying to figure out how to make things work.
But that's a great chapter, and we get to learn about what kind of
Yeah.
person they are, and their brilliant conversation while ordering tea.
No,
Like,
unless something was important enough to mention in the next synopsis that I have to write, the chapter was gone. And I actually found that I think it makes the books read better, just because, and that's saying a lot from me.
I think I've been
love me
disconnected
a
here.
character scene, but oh no, we still hear you.
Ooh, okay.
You
Yep.
still hear us?
Everybody froze and went silent for a moment. I thought. Anyway, I missed that last bit.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. Just like if it couldn't be distilled into something important happening, and that doesn't necessarily mean a plot important happening. Sometimes it was like a character important, like so and so has changed their mind about large political decisions. It's important enough, but if it didn't distill down that far, then the chapter was deleted, and I trimmed off about 20,000 words.
Wow.
With this ruthlessness. So
I should learn how to do that.
50,000 word book.
Yeah, I'm terrible at
Yeah,
trimming.
it's more
Every
than
time I
trimming.
edit, I add like 10,000 words to a book. It's terrible.
Well, I feel like if it needs to be there, that's a good thing. My problem is I just feel like it all needs to be there because I'm just having such a nice time. Doesn't.
The thing is, though, like I mean,
Put the keyboard down.
even like distilling a chapter, each chapter down to a sentence or two. When you've got like a bigger book that's got like 60 like odd chapters, that's still a lot of sort of like synopsis.
It was.
Synopsis.
It sure was.
Which is probably too much for like the sort of thing that you'd be submitting to an agent, which is generally going to be 2 pages.
That is true.
Yeah, I had 2 pages double spaced often.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They have to be quite short,
Yeah,
which is why it's sort of like focus it. You have to be very broad in the this is this character, and they're going to go through some shit, and they're going to come out the other end and be a better or worse person because of it. In Fletcher's case, usually a worse person because of it.
Pretty much always. Either a worse person or just a dead person.
Yeah.
Having
you get 2
committed more
options.
war crimes.
But yeah, again, like you do have to tailor it to like the audience again, though. Like going back to actual writing advice, it's all very important. It's one of those things that's important throughout every stage of getting a book ready. In the synopsis, both versions of it, and in the cover as well. You want to be tailoring it to the audience that you're trying to get to, and also the audience.
Yeah.
The current audience. There's no point in going, right, my book is an epic fantasy, so I'm going to base my cover on what was popular 20 years ago. Because,
in the 90s,
yeah.
Don't be fucking attacking me like that.
I was going to say, man, you don't have covers where there's just a random character just in a cloak standing on the screen anymore. Yeah, I used to have that all the time. Hang on a second. I've got them around somewhere. I've got my bookshelves next to it. All
Character seen from behind, cloak blowing in wind.
Yeah, man. I've got the original Night Angel trilogy somewhere, and they literally all just had like a shadowy dark cloak,
a different colored cloak on each.
Yeah, and then you had like
was it a different colored cloak, or no? It was just like a different color on the title.
Yeah, I think so.
They were
you had like the Trudy Caravan books, the Black Mage series, which were pretty much the exact same covers because that's what was popular at the time. Whereas nowadays, that sort of thing just doesn't sell at all. So you have completely different covers. So yeah, it's important to sort of like stay true to the genre that you're pitching it to, and also to the current market trends.
Yeah, you don't have to write to trends necessarily, but you need to know how to market to trends.
Yes. If you try writing to trends, chances are by the time you've finished your book, the trends will have moved on and you'll be out of date.
Yeah. And then you just wait another year or two, and then you can call it retro and a revision or a revivalist or something.
Grimdark's making a comeback.
Grimdark's been dead for years, man. Just let it die.
Really has.
Yeah.
Nobody likes
and yet
Grimdark.
they keep calling us Grimdark.
I know. I've been over this. You write one Grimdark story and that's it. You are Grimdark for life.
Yeah, You get the stamp on your forehead. That's it. You're done.
Exactly. I write stories about hope these days, and still get quoted. People are like, this looks like a great Grimdark tale. There's no Grimdark! Though there are people literally cannibalizing angels, but it's not Grimdark!
I'm not a Grimdark author. Is your book grim? Okay, yeah, a little. Is it dark? Yeah, okay, a little. Aha!
I got a message from
reputation for nihilism.
I got a message from somebody
if
at
we write
Grimdark
the
magazine
slightest
the other
amount
day.
of hope, we go, it's not Grimdark.
That's just it. Like,
sorry, what was that, Rob?
I got a message from one of the editors at Grimdark magazine the other day saying like, "Oh, can we have a review copy of your book?" And I'm like, "You know, it's not Grimdark." And they're like, "Really? Maybe not then."
Are you sure?
So it's pretty dark. It's just not Grimdark. And they're like, "Okay, well maybe we'll try it then."
Oh, that's brilliant.
So Grimdark's
it's
not
Grimdark
quite
magazine. You're like, yes, this is Grimdark.
yeah, I know. Hey, they contacted me. It's like, hey, it's not Grimdark, mind you. They've I think they reviewed all the Mortal Techniques books. They're not Grimdark at all. They're about heroes doing heroic things.
All right. And on that note, we're going to wrap this up. Also, because I have to go pick up my kid from school.
Oh,
Speaking of which, your kid is an awesome artist, by the way. Like, I keep seeing you posting.
It's true.
Almost good enough to do covers. She's getting really close.
Her dragons are brilliant.
The problem is she's 13 and she is as responsible and as dependable as a 13-year-old.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm like, I need this piece of art by this day. She's like, yes. I'm like, are you going to start it? No. Like, will it be done on time? She's like, I don't know.
In fairness, we also have been doing that to each other with the co-write project. So, like, it's not like it doesn't run in the family for her.
Fair enough.
You guys are still
However,
co-writing.
I expect professionalism from my artists, and she wants mac and cheese.
That's fair.
Me too.
So
paid mac and cheese, Fletcher.
So you've co-written now. Well, you're co-writing with Krystle. You've co-written with Aniston Spark. You've co-written with Clayton. Are you ever going to write another book on your own?
Oh, fuck no. It's way too much effort. An entire book?
My big theory is that it's his background as a musician, and it's such a collaborative industry that it comes naturally to him, so that whenever he gets bored, he's like, I just want to find somebody else to get ideas from.
Yeah,
and then
they say everyone has a book in them. I have half a book.
That's fair. I kind of assumed you were building a team. You were putting together the Grimdark Avengers. So one day, you're doing like collaborations with each. You're like the Nick Fury character. You're like, yes, I'm putting together a team, and you write another book with another person, and then one day you're just going to bring them all together and be like, avenge everybody. Everybody, what do they do? They avenge. Yeah.
And we get to write the definition of Grimdark, and nobody can argue with us anymore.
Actually, that would be fun. Damn, Rob, you've started something. This is bad.
There we go. And the entire thing will be set in a pub called the Dripping Bucket.
And we'll all go on that podcast of the same name to talk about our books.
There you go.
Alrighty. I really do have to go pick up my kid in a minute. So I will be in trouble if I don't.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's been wonderful, and I'm sorry for derailing it every other sentence.
No, that was a lot of fun.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely worth it.
Yep, being as, slickly professional as ever. And we'll do this again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Ciao, folks.